Hi, I want to talk really quick about this idea of psychological projections. I recently finished a book that I'd probably recommend more than any book for Jungian psychology. It's called Projection and Recollection in Jungian Psychology, Reflections of the Soul by Marie-Luise von Franz. And she tells a little story in one of the final chapters about a client of hers who was having this projection issue while Marie-Luise von Franz was out of town. And in her little unconscious projection issue, she sort of imagined that there were these killers out to get Dr. Jung. And so she called the police, and she was sure that there were killers out to get Dr. Jung. And of course, nothing came of it. It was just some silly thing. And Marie-Luise von Franz, she supposed it was some sort of an unconscious self-defense in her mind that her unconscious didn't want to get found out, and so it's kind of fighting against Jungian psychology. But she sat down with her client after she got back from this trip, and she gave her an hour, and after about halfway through, she got this girl to be, oh yeah, I get it, I made a mistake, or I see what happened. But then this thing happened right after that. I think the lady walked out of the session because she didn't want to admit that she was a fool, basically. But the reason I mentioned that is because projection is usually this issue where we project either ideals or where we project shadow or what we think is evil onto one group or one person or another. But sometimes it's just an idea or just an unconscious fantasy that we project out into sort of the real world, so to speak. I think that's really important because we do that constantly. Some more than others, some not so much. But especially in these strange times, and I was kind of getting really bothered recently because people won't deal with individuals, they'll only be dealing with their projections. So in a lot of these Facebook groups I get in and talk for fun, they'll go off on Jordan Peterson's this and that, this and that, this and that, this and that, and all these fantasies that have nothing to do with anything Jordan Peterson ever said or probably ever thought. I mean, maybe there'll be things that he said, but they want to twist that out of context to project him as the villain or whatever. And I'm not a Trump supporter, really, but it's how can we try to do something in reality with our politics if we're only responding to either our projections or our community's projections? So a lot of times there will be some idea that the president tweeted or a bunch of people are saying about the president, and then we respond to that. And again, I'm not necessarily a Trump supporter, but whatever you want to do for or against the president, if you're just responding to some group hysteria or some weird collective idea that is from other people or from some unconscious projection, you can't deal with the real person or what anybody's really thinking. I mention that too because I think a lot of that too is what's going on with this coronavirus right now. It's serious, but not much more serious than another version of the flu, but it's turning this whole big hysteria. Not just because, people died, all that, and of course that's sad and all those horrible things about sickness and everything else. But a lot of it is because it's a projection. People are always looking for the next hysteria to get on or something. But then also, like in that little story I sort of paraphrased from that book, is when we sometimes will halfway realize, oh yeah, I'm only dealing with a non-reality, something somebody never really thought or said or had any feelings about, whether it's an idea or a group or a person, but something they didn't really say. And then we, we'll get into these conversations with people online, and then they'll halfway realize it's just some group idea at best, or some unconscious projection of their own, and then they'll just disappear. And that's fine. It's funny the way the internet can be sometimes, and we definitely need to use it less than I do, but it's good on one hand because it helps us get out some ideas that we might not normally just go say in public, not to be trolls necessarily, but to just kind of voice ideas and concerns that we don't want to just go bring up willy-nilly in our day-to-day lives. And so some of that can be good, but sometimes we latch on to some false projection, like this person's this or that, when that's just some group idea that you're responding to. I mean, that could happen to anything. It's like a rumor. A rumor is like a spirit or an archetype or a projection, sort of, that can get on a person, and then everybody starts responding to it like it's reality, because not everybody, but a lot of people will start responding, oh, did you hear so-and-so did this, whether it's somebody in the local community or on the news, or some celebrity or whatever. And then sometimes it was just a false rumor that just kind of like came out of the group hysteria or whatever group ideas are floating around. Anyway, I might redo this video, but kind of had to get that off my chest. So